Hello crafty friends, and welcome to February 2022 Makers with Heart collaboration, where we are going to focus on specialty papers and cardstock, the exclusive cardstock. That's going to be what I focus on today, and show you just some of the things that get overlooked in the idea book. To start things off, I just want to show you how wonderful Close to My Heart cardstock cuts on the Cricut or with thin cuts. It just, if you have a good blade and any Cricut, I have both the Explore and the Air versions. I don't have the Maker, but it cuts beautifully. It does have a white core, which can be used for many useful things. In this particular case of making my roses, I don't want to see that white core, so I will use a sponge or a ink brush and ink over the edges. But actually that's kind of a benefit, because by using just the same color ink on the edges of the cardstock, it enhances the color, and so it makes it more natural, so it's not all just one tone. It looks more real. So I'm going to show you two different versions of the rose from, it happens to be from the Art Philosophy Cricut set. And so when I rolled it up the first time, and this is kind of a quilling thing, you actually want to hold it in the tight spiral for about the count of 4, maybe even 6 seconds, because that allows the cardstock to remember the fold better, remember the curl better, and it will just make your project stay together and look nicer. So after I had coiled it tightly, you saw that I kind of held it for a few seconds and then I released it, and now I am gluing it down to the base of this spiral flower. And I'm going to show you the two different versions that I make out of the same cut. So here I'm just taking a regular paper towel and I'm putting in a concentrated bundle of it down into the center of the rose, and then I'm putting the rest of it in, and because it's flexible, it doesn't smash the paper, but it helps hold it down onto the glue area. So here on the second rose, I did also ink the edges so that it'll have the multi-tone of the color, but I'm just using my tweezers, or I'm showing you here you can use just a piercing tool or any round tool to kind of gently roll over the tips of this rose. And I won't make you watch me doing every single iteration of it, but this is how it looks when it's done, and some of them are tighter than others, and once you have it started, I kind of just roll it between my fingers to get it into a tighter roll. It's easier to pull it out of a roll than to try to get it tighter when you're coiling it into the rose shape. So this part, again, you're going to put your quilling tool on it, or you can just use your fingers to get it started. You're actually going to roll with the curved side to the outside. So you're making the coil to the inside with your bent over petals all facing to the outside of the flower. When you do this, because of the white core, there will be cracks and splits in the paper, especially in the center. So as you saw there, just take your blending brush or anything that you put ink on the edges of the paper and just fill in those pieces. And hopefully, as you'll see at the end of this project, that you don't see those blemishes. It actually just helps enhance the look of the rose. So now the first one is done. That was just the straight coil. And just to give it a little more life and realism, I'm just taking my reverse tweezers again and rolling over just a few of the tips that are on these rose petals. And just use your fingers to kind of crimp them up. Rose petals especially are not always smooth. There's sometimes wrinkles in them. So here from your local hobby store, you can find in the florist section this florist wire, and I just make a loop on the end, and then taking a foam pad, I'll just use my piercing tool and poke a hole down the center. And what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of widening the hole by agitating the piercing tool in a circle. So then you just poke that wire down through the center, and because you've made a loop in the top, it won't pull through. You don't have to worry on glue or anything else. It's just going to work out for you here. So here I took 2 daisy flowers, and you have to kind of judge what size you want. These roses I cut basically at a 5 3/4 inch square. so that I could get 4 of them on one sheet. And so then my petals here, my daisy petals that I cut in green, are 1 inch, just to give you the scale of thing. So I used one of the daisies to pull up, one to pull down, and here you can see the 2 differences. The one on the left is the coil, the one on the right is the one where I folded the petals over. So off screen, I went ahead and cut all of these on the Cricut, and you can see the different color tones that are coming up, that we have both the light side and the dark side of our cardstock. And the dark side isn't dark per se, it's just more of the true tone of the color, but then on the back side they do a lighter version of that same color. So here I have a whole bunch of strips that I cut, because I'm going to show you different things that you can do with our cardstock and celebrate the centers being white. These pieces, as you can see, I put through an embossing folder, just a dry embossing folder, and then I lightly sanded the tops off of the raised portion on the cardstock. I do need to apologize. I thought I had my camera rolling when I was sanding the tops of them, and I didn't. Life was happening here. So, but all you do is take an emery board or any kind of sanding tool that you have and lightly sand off the top to show off that white core. And then I'm just arranging some flowers on here, and I'm kind of trying to keep them kind of tone on tone so that the grape flower or mum is with the grape cardstock, the wild berry is with the wild berry, and then I used Harbor as kind of my neutral tying in color. And then of course the white daisies are there as well. My leaves I used the dye, the leaf dye from the Layered Flowers stamp or ink, thin cut, excuse me. And now I'm just going to add 3 wild berry sequins to just add a little bling. And I like to make cards that mail for the regular stamp, that there's not too many bumps or embellishments on them that are hard, so that it just goes through an envelope nicely. So this card that's in the upper right corner, I ripped the bottom edges, and so it revealed the white core that way. And here, another thing that I'm doing after running them through the embossing folder, go ahead and use the same color ink as the cardstock, and I'm just lightly running my blending tool over it to kind of highlight those raised edges in the color of the cardstock. This cardstock to me is great. You do one cut and you can flip it over and you get 2 tones, and it just really makes your projects have more depth and color, but also just come together quickly. You're utilizing more of your supplies and not cutting into 2 different sheets of paper. So for me, I just absolutely love the 2-tone cardstock. The white core adds so much, and you can just take these techniques and apply them to some of the other specialty papers that the other makers with heart are going to show you. Katie showed some great techniques yesterday in her video with vellum, and how you can use embossing folders and make it come white, and really some great things that again you can use with our basic cardstock. And then Dawn is going to showcase the black ore cardstock tomorrow, which again, some of these same techniques can be used to help highlight and showcase your photos or on your cards. Just really bring an elevated look to your project. Just so many easy ways to enhance your project with some fun papers to play with too. So here you can see more of the details on each of the cards. If you missed the other makers projects, there'll be a link in my description. And also, starting this month and moving forward, we will start our hops, or our weekly challenges, collaborations, on the 10th of every month. So you can mark your calendar to go and look for what we're taking on, what we're showcasing, the 10th of every month. Have a great day.